Zombies are obviously a big part of 7 Days to Die, so knowing the various ways that you can get your legs ripped off is a solid survival strategy. So today we're going to be going over the special zombies in 7 Days to Die, but in order to know why the special zombies are special, we should probably quickly go over the basic zombies. These are the regular zombies in 7 Days to Die. They have the least health, they do 10 damage on Nomad difficulty, and on Insane they do 25 damage. You know them, you hate them. Next up, we have what I'm going to call heavy zombies. They have much more health than regular zombies. They do 20 damage on Nomad or 50 on Insane. These two groups make up the majority of the zombies you fight in 7 Days to Die. The first kind of special zombie would be the Ferals. Ferals do 20 damage on Nomad and 25 on Insane. They always run and you can tell them apart by their glowing eyes. Something you might not know about Ferals is that they have more resistance to dismemberment and staggers. That's why they can seem so unrelenting early on. Generally, you'll see Ferals at night or in particularly dangerous areas like the wasteland or downtown in cities. Of course, at a certain point, you'll reach a game stage where Ferals will be spawning in even tier 1 POIs. On day 1, you'll only really see them in those dangerous areas. There are also heavy Ferals. These do 40 damage on Nomad and 100 damage on Insane. As you would expect, feral zombies of all kinds will spawn in hordes. Then we have radiated zombies. These start to spawn a lot later in the game, and you're gonna have a hard time finding any of these on day 1, and that is for the best. Radiated zombies have even more health than ferals, which, as you'll remember, have even more health than regular zombies, but they do the same damage as their feral equivalents for the most part. But they do have the extra problem of very quickly regenerating their health. As you can see, the rads will generate their health quite quickly, so you really need to focus them down and kill them as quickly as possible. But you can use the Rad Remover weapon modification, which will disable their healing for 90 seconds after you hit them with it. Definitely an important mod later on in the game. Radiated zombies will spawn in POIs and on horde nights, and they have even stronger resistance to staggering and decapitation. So these are the 3 types of zombies which make up about 95% of the things that will be trying to steal your eyeballs. But there are a few more zombies that are slightly more interesting. First up, we have armored zombies. Armored zombies are pretty simple, they take less damage. Contrary to popular belief though, most radiated zombies are actually not armoured, they just have a lot more health, which makes some people think they must have armour, and as such they think they need armour-piercing ammo to fight them. But armour-piercing rounds are not necessary on most radiated zombies. There are 4 zombie types which do have armour in 7 Days to Die though. The biker and utility zombie have 20 armour, reducing the damage they take by 20%, just like with a player. Biker and utility zombies come in regular, feral and radiated versions. Bikers are of course heavy zombies and do twice the damage that regular zombies do. This makes radiated bikers pretty much the most dangerous zombie you'll encounter. He has no special abilities, he's just built different. His huge health pool, he has armor, got health regen, a very respectable 100 damage per hit on insane difficulty, almost completely immune to stun, stagger and decapitation, and bikers use the same running animation as Arlene's and businessmen. For those unaware, that is the fastest running animation. So imagine everything I just said about radiated bikers but on nightmare speed. They can run at the fastest speed any zombie in the game can move. Then there are soldiers. They have 50% armor, which makes them quite tanky. Otherwise, they are pretty much the same as regular zombies and come in feral and radiated variants as well. And the rad variants are real bullet sponges. Then we have the demolition zombies. We'll talk more about them later, but they do have 60% armor. Aside from that though, they're just regular heavy zombies with a nice special ability that do 20 damage per hit on Nomad and 50 on Insane, and they usually have about 1000 health. Next up we have the spitter zombies. Cops, radiated vultures and mutated zombies. Mutated zombies were added in Alpha 20 and they don't spawn on horde nights currently. They do 20 damage on Nomad and 50 on Insane. When they get close to you, they'll spit out a cluster of radiated balls which will damage you when they hit you. These zombies are fairly rare because they were kind of shoehorned half-heartedly into Alpha 20, and they honestly barely even work. I don't think I've ever been hit by these balls without trying to get hit, but they do come in regular, feral and radiated versions. The ferals do a base of 25 damage on Nomad and 63 on Insane, and the radiated zombies are unique in that they do more damage than the feral versions. The rads do 30 damage on Nomad and 70 on Insane. Finding the damage the balls Finding the damage the projectiles do has been annoying, but basically feral and radiated mutated zombies do increasing damage with their ranged attack, if it ever actually hits you. Just 7 days to die things. A much more finished zombie type is the cop. Cops are heavy zombies who have a ranged spit attack. Unlike the mutated zombie, which tries to use its attack when it gets close to you, the cop will try and use its ranged attack at range. If it can see you, it will try and spit at you, and when cops fall to about 40% health, you'll start to hear a heartbeat sound effect, and after a few seconds, they'll explode, damaging any zombies or players nearby, and doing minimal block damage. The basic cop explosion isn't too dangerous, but the feral and radiated explosions do more damage than the basic ones. Basic cops on Nomad do 10 damage with their spit attack, but 25 on Insane. Feral cop spit does more damage, and ferals will spit out 2 projectiles, and radiated cop spit does even more damage and will fire out 6 projectiles. If all 6 of these hit you, unless you have some really good armor, you're probably going to die. Radiated vultures also have the radiated spit attack, but it only fires out 2 projectiles. So that's all the spitter zombies, and next we have spiders, which come in regular, feral and radiated variants. Spiders crawl around on their hands and feet and can jump up a few blocks high and can jump forward by quite a lot. They're quite fast and can sometimes jump up behind you if you have openings in your horde base because their jump is based off of their line of sight, but otherwise they're just like any other zombie, damage and health wise. Then we have screamers. Screamers are nothing special by themselves, but if they scream, they'll summon a small horde of zombies, and sometimes that horde will have more screamers in it. This means that the situation can definitely escalate from there, but otherwise, they only spawn if there is excessive heat generation in an area. Firing guns, mining ores, using crafting stations, any kind of fire is going to generate heat. When the heat in the local area reaches 100%, the heat will reset and there is a chance a screamer will spawn and try and find you. When it finds you, it'll attack you, and if you give it the chance, it'll scream and summon more zombies. You can abuse this by placing a bunch of campfires in your base, turning them all on, and then farming XP from screamer hordes. Aside from their screamability though, there is nothing particularly remarkable about screamers, they're just standard zombies. There are 3 other special kinds of zombies that don't really have a nice category, so these are the miscellaneous zombies. First, wights. Wights come in feral and radiated variants. They have much more health than the regular zombies of their class, but they don't do any extra damage compared to them. I'm putting them here because people would inevitably ask about them, but they're really nothing special, just extra spongy compared to the others. Second, we have hazmat zombies. They are more likely to give you the infection injury and will cause your infection level to increase much more quickly compared to regular zombies. That's all their ability is. It's a very niche ability and you've almost definitely never noticed it. And the third one is demolition zombies. Demo zombies have that 60% resistance to damage as I said, but they also have a button on their chest. If you hit that button, a countdown will start, and if you kill the zombie before the end of that timer, nothing happens. If you don't, however, it will explode. Now according to the game files, this explosion does 800 damage to the player by default, which was obviously very difficult to test in game, because no matter what, without armor, it killed me. And using armor makes it very complicated, so I'm just going to believe the game files. It also says that it does 5000 block damage, but do remember that concrete and steel do have some pretty good explosion resistances, so it will usually seem like a lot less damage. And you should really have concrete or steel available by the time demos start spawning, which is around about game stage 150. They generally only spawn in horde nights, but in a few very specific scenarios, which are honestly a mystery to even me, they do spawn in the world naturally. I've played 1000 hours of Alpha 20 and it's happened to me I think twice. I also played 1000 hours of Alpha 19 and it never happened to me, as well as many hours before that and it never happened to me. So I do believe it could be a new feature of Alpha 20 with the way that cities generate, with downtown areas being considered especially dangerous. Both times it happened to me were in downtown sections of cities in biomes that weren't the forest biome, but I have no idea if that's relevant because it is genuinely so rare. I have almost no data on how it actually happens, but I can confirm it does actually happen. And finally, zombie animals. Zombie dogs do 8 damage on Nomad or 20 on Insane. They are dogs, they run fast. You're probably very familiar with them. They spawn in POIs, in wandering hordes, in the wild, and in horde nights. I could have sworn there was radiated dogs at some point, but it appears that is not the case in the current version of the game. Maybe I was playing a mod or something. Despite being called Animal Zombie Dog, Animal Tracker does not work on this dog or any other zombified animals. I have no idea why, it just doesn't. The next one is the zombie bear. Zombie bears are fast, big, they do 50 damage on Nomad and a horrifying 125 damage on Insane, and they also usually have about 2000 health. Fortunately, they don't spawn on horde nights, only spawning in specific POIs like the bear den, wandering hordes, and in the wasteland. They're probably the most dangerous thing in the game, even worse than the radiated biker in my opinion. I wouldn't recommend messing with them on higher difficulties unless you have a lot of firepower. Zombie vultures are the only airborne enemies in the game, and they do the same damage as zombie dogs. Many seem to think that the vulture has special abilities to make it attack you when you're weak or damaged. As far as I could tell, there was no special code for the vulture there. So if that weakness thing is a part of the vulture's code, it's a part of the code of all the other animals as well, because the vulture's AI is just an extension of the generic hostile animal with no additions to make it particularly focused on weaker targets. One thing you can verify though is that they do get a huge speed boost when you're in a vehicle, which is there to make it so that you can't use vehicles to cheese horde nights because they'll swarm you and kill you and your vehicle pretty quickly. You may have heard also that vultures have extra infection and abrasion chance, and this does seem to be true. You see, all zombies in the game have injury weights, and then ferals have a boost which gives you extra infection per hit, and it gives you the more severe version of abrasions. Yes, there are 3 versions of abrasions that last different amounts of time. The vulture has an even stronger variation of the infection and abrasion abilities than ferals or radiated zombies. Not hugely stronger, but considering you might fight a vulture on day 1, but it's hitting you with the same infection and abrasion strength as a radiated zombie, it's noticeably worse. Radiated vultures are bigger than regular vultures, and they only really spawn in hordes in the late game, and they have a spit attack which is on par with radiated cops but only with 2 projectiles instead of 6. They do the same damage as regular zombies with their melee attack, and they have the same brutal infection and abrasion effects as regular vultures. They also seem to move faster and get the radiation healing, of course. And that is everything about special zombies in 7 Days to Die. If you enjoyed this breakdown, definitely check out my guide to injuries and medicine. It's in a similar depth and format as this video, and before you go, consider dropping a like. Thank you to my channel members and patrons for making this video possible, and thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.